only mode.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Hi, my name's Arsh Ellahi, and I am really excited about tonight's webinar. Now, I've done a lot of webinars over the years, but I can genuinely say that tonight is one that I think is going to change a lot of people's lives for the better. And the reason why I'm really excited is because I've been speaking to a gentleman for probably the best part of a year, and I kept saying to him, can we do something together? Can we do something together? And he kept saying to me, oh, she goes, I don't really need to do it anymore. He goes, I'm out of that field. I'm doing something really exciting. And I eventually managed to break him down. And the person that I'm speaking to and speaking about is now become a very good friend of mine and to the name of Hanif Khan. Hanif, are you online with me?
Yeah, hi, Ash, I'm here. Can you hear me, guys? Hello,
Yeah,
everyone.
I can hear you nice and clearly. Now, first thing that we'd like to do is, first of all, welcome everyone online. And what I'd like you to do on the far right hand side of your screen, you'll all have like a little control panel. If you wouldn't mind, can you just put a very quick yes or no that you can hear us clearly? Okay, perfect. So people saying that they can all hear us nice and clearly. Fantastic. Okay, so we've got tonight 60 minutes with you. And when Hanif and I were both talking about doing this webinar, we wanted to keep tonight's webinar to the point, and I think we've nailed it with the title of the webinar. And so some people have messaged me and said, well, is the title correct? How can you actually buy a property for £1? And more importantly, if you can, why are you sharing the secrets with us? Now, the person that we've got online, Hanif Khan, was the first person in the UK to be able to do this legally and correctly. So I'm not going to speak for too much. What I'm going to do, I'm going to just do a quick brief intro, and then I'm going to pass you directly back onto Hanif, who's going to be taking you through the presentation. What I would like to ask is that Hanif has requested, if you can, and unless they're completely relevant to the point, let's keep the questions to the end, because I want to use the most amount of time with Hanif, and then we can concentrate on questions towards the end of the presentation, if that's okay. So, in 60 minutes, you're going to possess the skills how to find a raging torrents of motivated sellers, how to elegantly negotiate a win-win and a discounted price to buy their property. So that's what our aim is for you this evening. So just a little introduction about who I am. So my name's Arsh Ellahi. I run a group of 12 property companies with my brother Aki Ellahi. Together we're accidental landlords and letting agents. And prior to the boom, Hanif actually helped me become quite a large portfolio landlord. So I'm very grateful for Hanif for helping us. And we've been letting properties since 1973, which technically speaking isn't correct, because I wasn't actually born until 1980. And how it all worked from my point is that my father had a small portfolio. When I left university, I started to grow it massively. And now we've got well in excess of 500 tenants, all on benefits. And we've got a very high 100% rent collection record and a very high 98% occupancy rate. So just so that people who have never seen me before, I'm on the left, that's me, Arsh Ellahi, and my brother's on the right there, Aki Ellahi. So that's enough about us. Now let's get you on to the person that you're all here to listen to. Now the question is, who is Hanif Khan? Now for those that have been in property and are the seasoned investors, you would not have got anywhere without knowing who Hanif Khan is, or was, and is. But for those that have recently just started out in property, you may not have come across his name because he decided to duck out of the market and started to concentrate on other business ventures. So I'm going to pass over to Hanif now, and he's going to tell you a little bit about who he is, what he's done, and believe me, he's done a lot. But more importantly, why he should be here listening, why he should be here talking to you this evening. So over to you, Hanif.
Hello, everyone. Thanks, Ash. Yes, you have been talking to me for at least a year about doing this, so it's good to actually finally be doing it All right, everyone, I'm just going to give you a real quick introduction to who I am and what I do. And the reason I'm doing that is not because I'm big-headed or whatever. It's really so that you understand that what I'm telling you is stuff that I haven't read from a book, not something I've just sort of, spoke to a couple of people and stuff about. It's actual stuff that we've done ourselves, that we've been doing, that we've understood. We've tried all these different techniques. We've done the deals. I've helped negotiate. If for other people, I've mentored other people and showed other people how to do it. So it's all stuff that you can actually go away and implement yourselves in your own property journey and begin adding this lease options and options in general into your portfolio and bringing it as part of what you do. So basically, I used to be an IT professional. About 15 years ago, 14 years ago, I got into property. I started buying and selling property, building a small portfolio, doing it the traditional way, buying a house, remortgaging it, etc. And as that developed and we started doing more of it, I set up my own estate agents, my own letting agencies, had a number of letting agents, 3 or 4 at one point at the same time. We eventually sold those, and I also had one of the first deal sourcing sites, so ready-made deals. We used to own that, and we did hundreds and hundreds of deals on that through that company. We flip deals, we buy deals, we do lots of stuff around property in general. If you can flick onto the next slide for me, Ash. Okay. So over the last, 13 years or so, we've built a portfolio that covers everything from HMOs, lease options, commercial properties, flats, houses, holiday lets. We've done a bit of everything, to be perfectly honest. Most of what we do is based in Birmingham, but we have properties all over the country. From London to up north to Bradford to everywhere, pretty much. As well as doing that, I started doing mentoring and teaching people some of the stuff that we do and how we did it. So, I've taught lots of the other gurus that are probably on the circuit now. Years ago, when they first started out, we showed them how to do lease options. We showed them how to do lots of other clever stuff, which we had learnt ourselves from the US and figured out how to do over here in the UK legally. So, if you move to the next slide, please. Okay, so why did I stop teaching and why did I stop mentoring people? Because the truth is, I get bored easily. When I've learned something really well and I knew it, I like to do something new and different. So what we started doing was product innovation. So we're now an innovation partner for B&Q, and we launch new products. So I work with inventors who create new products, and we launch those into the retail market. So B&Q being one of the people we launch with, but Screwfix, Home Depot in the States, Bunnings in Australia, we sell into New Zealand, Castorama in France, all the big box retailers. We work with those guys and launch new products all over the world, really. And that's something I really enjoy. I like working and creating something out of nothing. It's the same reason why I love property, because it's all about being able to create value out of nothing more than your own mind or your own imagination. Because what you do is, you see a property on the side of the road and it's a house, and you think, how can I add value to this? Well, you knock it down and you build a block of flats. And it's that ability to imagine what something can become. That's the ability of being able to create value out of nothing. And that's what I love about property. It's that ability to imagine value. Okay, if we can click on to the next slide, please. Okay, so like I said, I'm telling you all this really just so that you understand that what I'm going to be talking about is stuff that I've actually done, stuff that we've been doing over the last X number of years, and it's not something I've just read in a book or been on a course to some guru. So it's stuff we've actually done. I've taught, previously I've taught for Progressive, I've taught for Simon Zushi, so I've taught and mentored their advanced students in all of this stuff and taught them how to do these things. So this is some of the stuff you're going to get tonight are sort of things that people have paid tens of thousands of pounds on some of these mentoring courses and other courses, and we're going to give you some of that free. I haven't taught for a number of years, but I'll show you this. I'll share what we're doing right now and what works. Okay, if you move to the next slide, please.
Now, Hanif, I've put this slide in, and you wouldn't have seen this slide prior to right now, and I thought I'd throw this in because now people talking about why is now the perfect time to use this strategy. Now, hopefully, we're going to be talking in a short while about all the new government changes that are coming in with the new tax rebates, etc. Now, lease options is going to be a fundamental strategy going forward. Would you agree with that, Hanif?
Yeah, I mean, look, lease options have been around for hundreds of years. They've just been used in different ways. They will always be around, and they will always, they will always be there. And this strategy is going to be one of the strategies that are going to be used to help with these new tax regimes that are coming in. There is no doubt in my mind that a lot of people will start using options and lease options in general in order to mitigate their taxes, and but we won't know until we know exactly what the rules come in and how they're implemented as to what will be legal and what won't be, what will be tax efficient and what won't be. But you will definitely be using options within that in some way, for sure, if you want to mitigate your taxes.
Okay. So the one thing that I do, Hanif, now at the point is we're trying to understand who we've got online and what we understand what their why is, because the why is the most important part of anyone's property journey. Understanding why they're involved in property. So if you wouldn't mind, just in your columns or the boxes that you got on your screens, would you mind telling us why you're here? Why are you doing what you think you're doing in property? Now, is it because of family? Is it because of you want to get to that dream of financial freedom? Do you want to travel the world? Do you want to eradicate world? Do you want to eradicate world debt? So people saying that they want to sack their boss. They want to get to financial freedom. They want to make their own life. Okay, so some people want to create a second income stream. They want to educate themselves. Okay, so a lot of it is around financial freedom, and some of the pictures that you see on the side there, which kind of summarize everything that we all want to achieve or where we want to aspire to be. So the first picture is family life. We all want to spend more time with our family. Now, the second picture is a picture of a golf course where it looks like it's a sunny day out there. It looks like the guy's enjoying himself, just whacking a ball into an open field with no kind of worry as to what he wants to do. And the third picture is a massive long road where you could go anywhere, where you want, when you want. And that's what we would consider to be financially free. Now, I'm not going to boast about this, but I actually only came back from skiing yesterday. I spent a week skiing in France, and it's probably the best week I've had away in a long time. Because whilst I was away, and it actually dawned on me that I get to do what I want when I want. And Hanif is very much the same. Would you agree with that, Hanif? Because I know that you fly all over the world.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. For me, it's essential that whatever you do, you enjoy it and you love it, and you create this income stream so you can do the stuff that you like. So we've got a bucket list, me and the missus. So we went to the Rio Carnival 2 weeks ago, wherever. We just come back from Brazil. Loved it. It's one of the things that were on our list. We tend to try and go away somewhere far at least once a month, and then other things close by all the time. So we like to play hard and work hard too when we want. But yes, absolutely, it's essential that you create your dreams, write them down in goals, and set them up, and then you'll be able to hit them easily and get to them. I'm just trying to work out how many holidays we've already booked so far this year. We've probably got at least 10 different holidays booked. So we're going to the States 3 times. We're going to Turkey, going to Saudi. We've just come back from Brazil. Loads and loads. I'm going to Germany again next week. So, yeah,
Okay.
It's it's definitely worth doing, and enjoy your life. That's parcel of the journey.
Okay. So moving on then, mate. Now I put this in again. I don't think you would have seen this because when we talk about financial freedom, people always think that buying properties with mortgages is possibly the best way of doing it. But what dawned on me when I was doing a seminar at the tail end of last year is that if you've got properties and you've got mortgages on them, technically speaking, you're not financially free because you've got this ball and chain around your neck or around your ankle for the next 20 years or the next 25 years, dependent on the term. Because regardless of where you go and what you do, technically speaking, you're not free because you'll always be at the mercy of your tenants. You may also be at the mercy of letting agents. And to me, that doesn't seem to be the definition of freedom. Would you agree with that, Hanif?
Um, yes, I mean, look, the whole point of creating a second income is to make it passive as possible, so that you can go out and enjoy your life. So if you want to go on a holiday for a month, you go on a holiday for a month and not worry about the toilet blocking or whatever else is going on. And using options as part of your overall portfolio, it gives you that ability to be far more relaxed, in terms of where mortgages are, where the rates are going up and down. It just allows much more flexibility in your overall mortgage portfolio and the way you plan it.
Okay, perfect. And the reason why I put this slide up, Hanif, is purely because obviously banks and what they're going to start doing to us over the next few years, I think is key because when you're the reason why I like the lease option strategy is because a lot of it comes down to negotiation between you and the vendor. Is that correct?
It's all about you and the vendor. The banks generally are not really involved in your negotiations. I mean, one of the good things I, I foresee, no one can decide exactly what's going to happen, but you can see what's going from the comments that the governor of the Bank of England, for example, is talking about. They're very concerned that people shouldn't get into buy-to-let, and they're trying to reduce the number of people getting into buy-to-let. So, for example, the 3% rates and lots of other things that they're doing, which means it's going to become harder and harder to go out and get mortgages to build your portfolio. So you need another solution, and options and lease options allow that solution to come in, so you don't have to worry so much about how you're going to get your next mortgage, which bank you're going to go to, have you maxed out with that bank so you can't get any more mortgages with them, etc., etc. It just simplifies that part of it.
Okay, great. So now that's part of the introduction to what we're going to be talking about tonight. Let's get into the meat. So for those that are with us online, would you mind just explaining to us? Do you know what's your experience with lease options? Are you a complete beginner to it? Are you intermediary, or do you know everything there is to need to know about lease options? So first of all, first person that's come in. Okay, a lot of people online, Hanif, are either beginners or complete novices. A couple of people saying that they're intermediate, but a fair few people are beginners at this. So this will be, first of all, explain, take it back to the bare brick. What is a lease option? Why do we choose lease options?
Okay. Okay. Well, let me explain. Write down a lease option. If we just think about it as the two words, lease and option. So if we start with that, what is a lease? A lease, the first part of the word, is basically an agreement to rent a property for a specific time and for a specific amount of money. So, for example, as it says on the slide there, you rent a shop for 10 years at a rent of 15,000 per annum. That's a lease agreement between you and the owner of the property. A lease can also be a lease on a house that you rent to your tenants. So instead of us saying that we give them an AST and a short hold tenancy agreement, we could say we give them a lease on the property. A lease is just an agreement to rent a property, that's it, or a piece of land, nothing more than that. The other half of it, which is the option, An option just gives you a right for something, and generally it's the option gives you, the way we write our lease options is, the option gives you a right to buy that property that you've rented for a specific amount of time at a specific price. So for example, as I've written there on the slide, you have the right to buy a house for any time in the next 15 years at 150,000. So really that's all a lease option is. It's a combination of those two things. So one is the right to be able to rent that house at a specific price, and the other thing that you also do, as well as rent it, you also have the right to buy that house at that specific amount of time of price. That's all a lease option is. It's a very simple concept that people have been using for hundreds of years in lots of different, but mainly commercial aspects. So they use it on the stock exchange, for example. They use it in commercial property transactions, but where they haven't it was in residential property until we got involved with it sort of 10, 12 years ago in the UK.
And one of the sectors that use lease options probably the most frequently, would you say, is property developers and pieces of land?
Pretty much every property developer out there will use a lease option in order to buy a plot and then develop it. So what they'll tend to do is they go out, they get an option over a greenfield or brownfield site, so over a piece of land with the farmer or the owner of that land. They will then go and get the planning permission. Once they've got the planning permission, then they're able to buy that piece of land generally from the owner, because they're able to finance it through a mortgage company, because now it's worth money as you can build 50 houses on it or whatever, and before that no one would be willing to give you money. So they always will get an option agreement on the property.
Okay, so moving forward then. So Hanif, if you wouldn't mind telling us a little bit about the flexibility of it and the advantages of using lease options. Why does it give the flexibility?
Okay, I mean, one of the main reasons we first started up and worked out how to use lease options was for its flexibility, because what it means is you are far more flexible in terms of how you can solve the vendor's problem. So for example, if you're buying a house and the guy wants, or the vendor requires his money now, you know, in cash, but maybe he doesn't want that. Maybe he wants, what he really wants is to have £500 a month for the next 20 years, and that's what he really wants. Or maybe he wants the money in months, or maybe he needs some money now and some money in the future. Well, the advantage of using an option is you can create that system around it. So you can tailor your solution to what the vendor actually wants and what you want, and you can come up with a solution that works for both of you. Create that win-win solution to it. It can seem complicated, but it's actually really simple. When we go further on, we'll explain a few scenarios where that's happened and how we've done different types of deals in different ways.
Okay.
Yeah, so like I was saying, it's all about creating these win-win solutions. You know, what you want to do is basically create something that's right for you and something that's right for the vendor too. You know, it's about both of you creating something that's right, and I've never come across a deal yet where you can't generally do that that it works for both parties.
Okay, and as the diagram explains there, obviously it's got to be both. It's got to be mutually beneficial for both parties. Otherwise, if you're doing it and it's not mutually beneficial, there's always going to be one party that feels slightly grieved. And in that respect, from my experience, from what we've done previously, is that the deal will never happen, and it's got to work where it is mutually beneficial for both. So, what else does lease options offer you, Hanif?
Okay, so like we talked about, this flexibility. So you've got a solution, but with a lease option, you've got multiple solutions to that problem, and it just allows lots of different ways to do these to solve the same problem. So like we were talking about, you know, if you've not got any money, so if you've got very little cash and you can only you could buy a house for £1, and you can agree to make the payments monthly for the next 20 years, and you could get those payments by renting the property out. So that allows you to build a portfolio quickly without a large cash pile to start with. But let's say you had lots of cash, but the problem was you couldn't actually get any mortgages anymore. So even though you've got money for deposits, no banks are willing to give mortgages because you've maxed out on them. Well, lease options allow you to go off and still control those properties, do a deal to buy them over 20 years or over 10 years, or you might even agree to pay nothing but pay the 150,000 for the house in 20 years time. All of these solutions are possible if you've got lease options involved.
Okay.
If we move to the next slide. Okay, so on this slide, we've basically got an example of some of the advantages for the investor and some of the advantages for the vendor or the owner of the property. The main things to think about here, I mean, I'll go through a couple of them, rather, and you can probably read them as we're talking. But from a vendor's point of view, right, they've got a problem that needs to be solved. It may be that they need money now. They don't want the hassle of managing property. It could be they have lots of different reasons why they want to sell their property. They need to fix the property before it can be rented out. They want a monthly income. So these are all problems that you come across, and why you get properties cheap. Because, you know, the average man on the street, if he's got a house worth 200,000, he's not going to sell it to you below market value just because you came and said hello. He's coming to you because he's got a problem. So maybe his property is not mortgageable. Maybe the property's been empty for a while and it's no longer fit for human habitation, and therefore he can't rent it, and he's actually paying council tax and he's losing money every month, and he just wants someone to sort the problem. Well, he has two solutions. One is sell the property at an auction or through an estate agent, or come to you and you figure out a solution around lease options that works better for him. So the main benefits as an investor is it allows you to control that property without actually owning it. Now, that's always quite complicated for people to understand, but basically what it means is you don't buy that property today, but you have the ability to buy that property whenever you want in the next 20 years. And you have the ability to control that property from today, because the lease gives you the right to rent it, to do what you want with it, and the option gives you the right to buy it. And that's the main thing to think about when you think about the benefits. So we use it. So we use options to flip properties. So we might get an option on a property to say we've agreed to buy a property from someone. We'll get an option to say we're buying your property for 120,000, and we might sell that option on to another investor for £3,000 or £2,000 or £5,000, depending on the deal. We'll sell that option to the next investor, who then will buy that property, and maybe they'll spend some money, fix it up and rent it out, or maybe they'll just rent it out and do whatever they want. But it allows us to flip properties very easily, because all we're doing is we're not selling the property, we're selling the option, which is a lot cheaper to do, a lot easier to do, and a lot quicker to do. So we use it to flip property in that way. We also use it to add value and then flip or sell the property or rent it out. So for example, quite often you come across properties that are not mortgageable. So because they're not mortgageable, they're a lot cheaper. So let's say you were buying a house and it didn't have a kitchen in there. Well, because it's not got a kitchen, the house has got, you can't mortgage it. So what we'll often do is we'll get an option to buy that property at a fixed price. We then go in, because we know we can buy that property and we can add value and not worry that the landlord or the owner is going to change their mind. We'll go in, we'll put a kitchen into the property, and we will then sell that property with a kitchen, so it's now mortgageable, and it's increased the value of the property because anyone can now buy it because it's got a mortgage. Or we'll remortgage it for ourselves and add it to our portfolio if it fits in with our portfolio. So again, we use options on both of those things. But really, And it also, the other thing options allow is it allows you, I mean, everybody must have heard of rent to rent and how wonderful rent to rent is. Rent to rent is great, and it's great in certain aspects and using it. We do some rent to rent, but we also, this allows you to get to the next level of rent to rent. So you want an option. Whenever you do a rent to rent, you should always try to also get an option if you can. So an option to buy that property in the future. Because what that means is not only do you get the cash flow income from a rent-to-rent property in the short term, you also get the capital appreciation over the long term. So that's the increase in the value of the house over the long term. You get that as well, and that's the real beauty of options and why we do them so much. And the main ones you use are an option to purchase. If you flick onto the next slide, Ash. Okay, so this is a big thing. Everybody goes, "Is this real? Can you actually do it? Can you buy a house for a pound?" Well, yes, absolutely. It's not illegal. It's not unreal. Councils do it. So, councils will sell a house for a pound. You might ask, why do they do it? I've not seen any London councils do it, but lots of councils up north will do it. And the reason they do it is because they want their properties that have fallen into disrepair. The council hasn't got the money to fix them. They want somebody to go in, fix that property up, and get it back onto the market, either rent it out or have it, people living in it. So they will sell the property for a pound with a restriction that you must fix it in 12 months or 18 months or 9 months, whatever the contract states. So it's not that it's not legal or that it can't be done. It can be done, and government councils, etc., use it as a means of getting property back into the market. So what we have to think about as investors is, why would someone agree to sell me their house for a pound? I'm not going to sell you one of my houses for a pound, but there's lots of people out there who will, and the kind of people who do it are the people who are in negative equity. So, for example, they've got a loan on their property, and the loan is 120,000, and the house is only worth 110 or only 115. They can't sell that property. It's impossible, because no one's going to pay them more than it's worth. So what they look for is a solution, and you can be the person who offers them that solution, because you go to them and say, "I'll buy your house, or I'll take control of your house. I'll give you a contract to say I will take over the mortgage and carry on making the mortgage payments for the next X number of years. It's of no benefit to you. You know that it's not, you can't make any money, and you're actually losing money every month. Well, I'm going to cover your mortgage, so you're no longer losing any money. I'll pay your council tax, so you don't have to worry about that. And I'm going to rent out this property for the next 10 years. And at some point, when the environment changes or when I feel like it, I'll buy your house from you, and then you can give you pay off the entire mortgage." And that works really well, because there's a lot of people who just don't want the headache, and they're quite happy to allow you to take that property off them in that way. The other time we use it a lot is when a property needs work. So like I was talking about, you need to add a kitchen, or you need to clear out the rubbish in a property, or you may have we've even done it where there's been tenants who won't leave the property, and they've been there for a long time, and the landlord has tried taking them down the eviction course and not been able to evict them. So we've gone in there, because we understand the eviction process is better. We've gone in there, we've told them we'll take over the property, but because it's so unclear in this instance as to whether or not we're going to be able to get rid of them because they've been there so long, we'll take an option over the property. So once we've got rid of them, we're then able to buy that property at a fixed price. And also, we've done it where we wanted to add value. So for example, if you want to add an extension onto a property, or you want to convert, I guess the best ones that we've done is when we want to convert a house into a number of flats, because this again allows you to do that. These options will allow you to take control of that property, so you know that if you're about to spend 20,000, 30,000 doing work changing this property around, that they're not suddenly going to say, "Well, thank you very much for doing my house up. now I've decided I don't want to complete and give you the house. What the option does is it makes it legally impossible for them to do that. And finally, I mean, we've also used them to do JVs on assisted sales. I don't know if you guys know what assisted sales are, but they're one of our, it's one of the easiest and simplest strategies to make a lot of money quickly and help people along the way. So we've done, often what we do is we go in, or I've gone into estate agents and I've said, look, what properties are sticking on your books and not being selling very well? And they'll say, oh, these three, the guy's got these dogs, or you know, it's really tatty house or whatever. We'll go along, we'll speak to the vendor and we'll say, look, we'll let us agree a price. So let's say that house was on for 150,000, for example. We'll say, right, we'll agree a price of 145,000. Anything above 145,000 on the sale of this house, we'll split it 50-50. Anything below is yours. So what we then do is we go in and we spend £500, £1,000 max, and we do the house. So we'll clear up the front drive, we'll clear up the front of the house, we'll clear out any smelly dog smells in the house, put some fresh flowers, and we'll do a block viewing and we'll reinvigorate and get that property sold. And then split the profit with the vendor. The vendor absolutely loves us for it because they've been stuck with this property. It's not been selling. They've got close to what they wanted for it, or if not more, by the time we split the profits between us. So everybody's happy, and it's such a simple, easy strategy, and you can make it all legal and stick together and held by option agreements. So we flick on to the next slide, Arsh. Okay, here we're just talking about how you can buy stuff for more than a market value. Again, really, why would you do it? For cash flow mainly. And the other thing is so for cash flow, what I mean is you might be paying 200 on the mortgage, but you're getting 500 in rent. So the cash flow is the 300 in the difference between the rent that comes in and the mortgage that goes out. So obviously, if you had 100 of them, why wouldn't you take them? So that's why you don't mind paying market value on certain properties if you're not putting big deposits down, and if you're with lease options you don't need to. And also, ultimately, holding the property for the long term, you get appreciation. So if I buy a house, if I bought a house 10 years ago for 50,000, it's probably going to be worth 100,000 today at least. So you've got all of that 50,000 or that capital appreciation over the last 10, 15, 20 years, which you get through lease options. And again, also, if you want to add value to to a property, this allows you to do that. If you click on to the next slide, please, Ash. I'm conscious that we're short of time as well. So here's an example of buying it more than value. So if I bought that house in the 1980s, it was sort of 30 grand, and now it's probably worth 100,000. If I just kept that property and rented it out for that time, that even if I'd paid the full market value of 30,000 in 1980, I'd still have made 70,000 pounds today. And that's the crux of investing in property. That's the real advantage of it. Click on to the next one. Yep, just click through. Okay, so the great thing is you're not concerned about the mortgage, only the rental income. So long as the rental income covers the mortgage payments, you're fine, you're happy, that's what you want. You're just interested in that yield. You don't care about, can I get a mortgage? Will this mortgage affect my other mortgages? Is there any issue? You're not cared, you're not bothered about those things. All you care about is, will the rental income cover the mortgage payments that I need to make, or the agreement you've made with the vendor? Because some vendors don't even have mortgages. So we've done lease options with vendors who've got no mortgage on the property, but they're just looking for a stable income every month. Click on to the next slide, please. Okay, so I'm gonna go through some of this stuff quite quick because we're running out of time, and I'd like to get on to some questions from you guys as well. So to give you an an example of where we've used these and how you can use options to flip properties. These are examples of some of the deals that we've actually done. So we've done where we bought a property with options to that were non-mortgageable, made them mortgageable, and then sold that property or added it to our portfolio. We've done it especially on short lease properties. These are properties where usually flats, where the once the lease on the flat gets less than sort of 50 years, it becomes almost impossible to get a mortgage. So what we'll do is we'll get it on an option, we'll extend the lease with the freeholder, and then it becomes mortgageable, and you're able to then get it at the normal market value. We've done it with fixer-uppers, also with slice and dice. So slice and dice and title splits. So title split is where we've bought a house or we've taken an option on a house, we've split that house into a number of flats, and then we've created separate leases or separate titles for each flat and then sold the flats separately. And also we've used it for portfolio splits. So for example, we might have bought a portfolio of 8 or 10 properties, and we bought the whole lot as an option. So we've got an option over buying the whole portfolio for, say, let's say £1 million, and then we've split off individual houses and sold them separately. So we might have sold 6 out of the 10 houses and kept 4 for ourselves, and we can use options to allow us to do that and make it all tie up, so you're not putting in loads of money. And that's the whole point. With options, you don't have to put in loads of money up front. You don't have to put in massive amounts of deposits for mortgages. You can tie the whole thing up so that you could buy 10 houses in one go and sell 8 or 9 of them on the same day in the same way to 8 or 9 other investors or other normal people on the street buying them, and the only money you put in was the money that they gave you in the first place. So you put nothing into that deal. If you click onto the next slide. Yeah, so this is a quick example of a title split. Basically, you've got a house, the market value is 200,000. If you convert that same house into two one-bedroom flats, if you click, it should come up with some numbers. Yep, you can see that if each of the flats were worth 150,000, 2 flats would be worth 300,000. So you've looked at a house that used to be worth 200,000, and just by imagining it as 2 flats that are worth 150,000 each, you've increased the value of that property by a whole £100,000. This is the beauty of property. This is why I love property so much. It's that ability to use your imagination to create money. It's great, it's amazing. But what you've done here is you've increased the value. It would have cost you some amount of money to convert them, but you're still going to end up with 60,000, 50,000 of value you've created. And always remember, the number one rule is, where's the pain? Think about the pain that your vendor is in and how you can solve it. And it's your job is to figure out how to solve that pain the best. Click onto the next slide. Their motivation is always linked to their pain in some way. Why are they selling? It's because they've got some pain. So you show them how to get out of that, and they'll be motivated to deal with you. Click next slide. Like we said, always create the win-win. We've talked about that before, and for me, that's the third best rule. Always make sure every deal you do is a win-win. Don't try to do over the vendor so they're not got what they want. Figure out how to give them what they want and still make money. And using options, it gives you multiple different solutions for that same problem, which means you can always create that win-win. As we said, we've personally done deals in lots and lots of places all over the country, and I have negotiated or helped negotiate hundreds, if not, yeah, definitely hundreds, probably, I don't know, close to 1,000, I guess, of other people's deals, people that are used to mentor, because I think Arsh alluded to the fact that, 10 years ago, I used to teach this to lots and lots of people and lots of other gurus and lots of other people who were doing lease options. So as part of that training, I would negotiate deals and show them how to negotiate deals on their behalf. And we've done them everywhere. It's not like, if you're in Bristol, you can't do this. You can do this anywhere in the country.
Would you now? Here's Here's one of the questions that I guarantee we're going to get, Hanif. Does this work in
Mhm.
London?
Yeah, absolutely, it works in London. I mean, this works in London probably better than anywhere else. And the reason it works so well in London is because the house prices are going up so fast. So if you go to, so you could use this as a really simple strategy. So if you go to a house, and let's say this house is on for £1 million, just to make it simple, right? And I went to the owner today and said, I'm going to buy your house for 1 million. And he goes, yep, fine. But I go, I want the right to buy it anytime in the next year for 1 million. Well, guess what? The prices have been going up so dramatically in London that, um, in 6 months, the price might have gone up 10%. So you've suddenly made 100 grand. You could sell that same property for 1.1 million and make 100,000 and have done nothing more than put it back on the market. So that's what a number of people use the strategy in London for. You can't do that generally in other parts of the country because that strategy doesn't work. You don't get such quick capital appreciation, but it definitely works in London. But you can use it on, people use it on pubs, they use it on shops, they use it on flat conversions, they use it on lease option, on lease extensions, and all of those are in London. They do work in London and they work really well.
Okay. Now, thank you for that, Hanif, because we've got a lot of questions. There's so many questions that I think you've actually set a lot of people's keyboards on fire. So what we're going to quickly do, we're going to tell you about an amazing little offer that myself and Hanif have put together, because I appreciate that in 60 minutes we can give you the basics of what you require, but in order to get the bricks and the bracks, the nuts and the bolts of the whole strategy, why don't you come and spend 2 days with both Hanif and I? So we're going to be running a workshop. It's on the 19th and the 20th of March. It's going to be held in the West Midlands, where both Hanif and I are based. It'll either be in Walsall or Dudley at the Village Hotel. And what we'll be showing you is how to do these amazing strategies pretty much in every location of the UK. So we'll be looking at the legals, how to use the right contracts, but more importantly, we'll even put you in contact with our power team. So the Hanif, would you say that the most important
Yeah,
part of this strategy is the contract?
yeah, look, absolutely. Without the contracts in place, without knowing how to do this legally, you're never going to get this to work because when we first started, we talked to solicitors. They didn't fully understand how it worked. They didn't understand the legalities. They didn't understand how, if they did it one way, wrote it one way, it would affect the tax. It would affect what you actually could do because they're just lawyers. They don't understand from an investor's point of view what we actually need them to write. You know, we'll tell you who we use as our lawyers and how they do it and what contracts you need to do in order to give you that flexibility in order to make those deals quick and easy to do.
Great. So the main point is the contract, because without that, you know, you're not legally secure. Second part is that, and this is a real important point. We're going to show you how to find motivated vendors. Looking also at the script. Now, it's all great putting yourself in front of vendors, but if you don't know what to say to them, or you don't know how to position yourself in front of that vendor, or position the proposition, how are you going to bring the property back in? Now, as Hanif said, he's done this thousands of times. Now, who best to learn from but the person who has almost like invented the script for all the other gurus in the country? He's going to be teaching you about how to work with the estate agents and how to have them taking you seriously, how to work with also commercial agents, because like we said earlier, lease options are great for both residential, commercial and development opportunities, which then allow you to create no money down deals legally. When we're talking about no money down deals, we're talking about the title splits, where it talks about how to buy a property, how you can or control it on its lease via a lease option, how to do the title split, how to potentially refinance on each of the units, how to create the title splits, how to, and more importantly, how to get all your money out. And it is still possible even in today, but you've got to make sure that you get it correct. So here's some of the other things that we're going to be learning, teaching on the day. Hanif's going to be showing you how he's actually done some of his real deals. He'll be showing you examples of some of the marketing, negotiating, and the deal structuring. And you'll get templates for marketing examples, scripts for estate agents, scripts for letting agencies, because they are different. There's no such thing as the same script for an estate agent and letting agent. More importantly, he'll be giving you templates to secure deals legally, templates of legal documents. And there'll be multiple real life examples of different types of deals. So we're not just going to look at a standard 2-bed mid-terrace property. We're going to be looking at land deals. We're going to be looking at pub deals. We're going to be looking at commercial deals. We're going to be looking at residential deals, as well as the simple and easy negotiation strategies. So even the shyest and the most introverted person can negotiate thousands of pounds off a property. Now that's great, but the one thing that we need to do is a lot of negotiation role play so that you guys get comfortable and put it in a format where you understand, so that when you go out leaving that workshop on the weekend, you know exactly what to say and how to say it on the Monday morning to start this on your property journey. And what we'll be doing is we'll be doing the deal workshops, going through deals, showing you how to structure them to create the win-win solution. Now, this is the first workshop that both Hanif and I will be doing together. It may be a one-off. So, admittedly, sorry, I've put something completely wrong there. And I've just picked up on this straight away. The workshop is 995, and I can't believe that I've just put that. So the workshop is 995, and you can purchase it just by clicking on that, copying that link into internet browser. But here's what I am going to do, because I appreciate that I have put that £500 there. Now, I haven't even spoken to Hanif about this, but I'm hoping that he agrees with me just to get me out of a bit of a hole here. Now, the workshop's 995, and that is for one person. But if you book tonight, I will allow you to bring a business partner for free, which means that both of you, technically speaking, will be paying just short of £500. So I appreciate I made a bit of a mistake there. But the way that I'll come around it is I'll allow you to bring a business partner for free. Now, Hanif, are you still with me?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Are you happy with that? Sorry, I appreciate that's my mistake.
Yeah, look, I mean, you've written on there, so we can't now change that, so that's only fair.
Okay, perfect. Right, now we've got quite a few questions. So what we're going to do, we're going to go straight into a few questions. So Sean has asked, is it the option that you buy for £1, not the property?
Neither. You don't buy the option or the property for £1. The contract, when you have a contract in law in the UK, you have to have an exchange of money, or there has to be an exchange of some sort. So the reason, I mean, it could be a penny, it could be 20 pence, it could be £5. So it's just, we just say £1 because it just seems simple and easy. But that could be any amount, but you're supposed to exchange something. So if I say I have the right to buy your house, I have to have given you something in return for signing that contract. So I give you £1 for that contract. All right, I could give you 10 pence. So the £1 is for the contract to make the contract legal.
Okay. Yeah. Now, David Holloway, who I know quite well, he's put, how do you ensure that the landlord's definitely paying the mortgage?
Okay, I mean, this is something we're going to show you on the course. But basically, what we do is there's a number of different ways you can do it. So one is you can pay directly into the mortgage account, so into the landlord's mortgage account that he gets his mortgage taken out of. So that's one way. The second way is what we always ask is we ask for every month a copy of the bank statement from the landlord is sent to us showing the payments going out, basically with the reference numbers for any properties. and really, there are a number of other ways we do it, but I'll show you how you can do it legally. Some mortgage, the reason I'm a bit hesitant in telling you exactly, because some mortgage companies don't like it when you pay direct into the mortgage account. So it depends which mortgage companies that the deal is with. Some of them have no problem, so we just tell them we're going to be paying it in, and we pay, so we'll pay them direct. Other times we have to pay them through the landlord. Sometimes we get the landlord to set up an account which we have viewing access to, so that we don't have access to the property, to the account, other than being able to see what's going in and out, and the only thing that goes in and out is the mortgage account on that account. So it makes it simple and easy for us to see what's going on. A bit like if you had a business and you have multiple accounts on there, but some people only have viewing accounts to see what's going on. They don't have the right to actually take money out, which is what we tend to do and set up on our accounts.
Okay, so Sarge Hussein's online. Hi, Sarge. I just want to ask a question. It goes, how do you find these people and methods to search for such motivated sellers? So I'm assuming you got a number of marketing strategies. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, there's not one way. Each of those people, so are different, and they, as I like to think about it, they hang around in different places. So and by that I mean they're looking in on Google in the same way, or they're. So let's rather than make it all theoretical, let's make it example concrete. So, for example, if you're looking for someone who has, who's got negative equity in their property and they can't sell it, where do you think you're going to find those people? The best place to find them is in the estate agents on the properties they couldn't put on the market. So when you go into the estate agent, we'll show you how you talk to them and say, which people did you come, and you couldn't sell their house because they wanted 120,000 for it and it's only worth 100 grand. And they'll say, oh yeah, I went to these 10 properties in the last 2 months which were too high, or the guy wanted more money than they were worth, so we didn't take them on because it was pointless. Those are the kind, those are easy, and it's how do you talk to the estate agents that still makes it a win-win for the estate agent to give you those details. And we'll show you in our scripts how we do that. That's a really simple example of one of the solutions. Another example is of finding people with flats where the lease is short. So we'll show you how we find that information out from Google and other sources. So we're able to target specific blocks of flats that we know where this situation may be going on. And I'll show you how you can also get them out of auctions and how you can do the deals through auction property. So when properties are in auction, they often sell them with the short leases into auction. Well, we'll show you how you can pull them out of auction and use an option to extend it and still make everybody happy. So the auctioneer wins, the vendor wins, and you win.
Okay, fantastic. So someone's just asked what are the dates, and it is the 19th. It's the weekend of the 19th and 20th of March, 2016. And I said it is at the Village Hotel, either at Dudley or Walsall. We're just waiting for both hotels to confirm, see which one is available. Now, someone's put, actually, we've got a couple of questions here. Now, Shabs and also a person called Carly put, in London, why would the vendor give you a year to give them £1 million? Why wouldn't they just take the £1 million?
Okay. Lots of different reasons. So let me give you one simple example. Let's say the vendor was buying a retirement property. So this is stuff that's happened to us. So the vendor is going to get a retirement property, and what they turn around and say to you is, I want to know that my house can sell and that I've completed my sale, so that I can go to the retirement company wherever they're buying this retirement flat or this other flat and say that my house is sold, because otherwise they won't accept their offer. So what we do in those circumstances is we step in and say, yeah, we've exchanged on this property, we've got an option, we're going to buy, and we'll complete once this other property is ready. So quite often what happens is when there's a chain like that, let's say it's a retirement property, it's not been built yet, it's still in the middle of being built, and they're expecting to have it completed, let's say for November, but the person wants to buy it now, and they want to know that it's done. So that's why they'll sell it, and they'll agree with you to be able to sell it at $1 million. That's one simple reason. There's lots of other reasons why people sell them at that specific price. It might be because they're retiring and they're moving somewhere, and they just want to know that that's done, and they don't have to think about it, but they don't want to leave the house yet. They're going to leave the house in November, or they're going to leave the house next year, or they want to be flexible with you as to when they leave the house. And those are all things that you offer, and you're able to offer with an option agreement.
Okay, so Bert's asked a good question. He goes, does a vendor not need approval from his or her mortgage lender to lease it to you?
Okay, that is dependent on the mortgage company. Okay, now this is where it can get it's very important in terms of how you write the contracts themselves and what you write on them. For example, most mortgage contracts say that the property must be let on an AST, so that's on a short hold tenancy agreement, and anything more than a short hold tenancy agreement of 3 years, you can't rent it out. Now, obviously, we're getting leases in this circumstances. However, what we actually do is we don't actually get a lease. What we generally tend to do is we get management agreements. So the management agreement allows us to rent the property without. So it's a bit like renting a property through a letting agent. Sorry. Now, again, we'll explain all this in detail on the course, and I'll show you the different documents in terms of how you set up that legal contract to make sure it is legal and you're not, you're not infringing on that. But everything we've done is 100% legal. We've had barristers' opinions, so legal barristers' opinions to prove what we're doing is right and allowed. I've had lawyers look at it, accountants, tax guys. When we first set up this strategy, I saw it in the States, I saw it in other countries, and I saw it's interesting. How can we do it here in the UK? And everything I saw was illegal and wrong. So I got some accountants, I got some lawyers, I got some tax experts, and I sat them in a room, and we sat there for a day and a half working through all the possible ways of creating these different option agreements depending on what we wanted to get across, and eventually we came up with stuff that worked from a tax point of view, that worked from a legal point of view, that worked from a mortgage point of view, and we then then we started using them for ourselves, and then other people asked us how we did it, so we started telling some other people how to do it, and then got convinced to run a course on it, and then everybody got to know how to do them. But obviously things changed, so over the last 8 or 9 years, we've had to change those contracts in the way they're worded, the way they're done, slightly as laws have moved around a little bit. But it's completely normal, completely legal. And what we actually do is we don't get a lease. I call it a lease option because it's simple to understand for people and they know what they are. But we actually use a number of different contracts, one of them being a management contract on the property to allow us to do the same thing as a lease option.
Okay, fantastic. I'm just quickly going through some of the questions. So Mark has asked a question, are we going to video the masterclass? What we can do actually, Mark, is we can actually do a live streaming session as well. So for argument's sake, if you can't attend in person, what we can do, like you are this evening, you can listen in, but for the workshop, we'll actually video it as well. And at the end of it, you'll actually get the audio clip, which we'll put in a Dropbox style along with all the other documentation that you require. So you get all the documents as well as all the great learning as you would as if you're in the room. So if that's of any use, feel free to get in contact with me. Now, just going through. So someone's put, how much would the live stream cost? Unfortunately, because the cost is within the content. Now, remember, we're going to be giving you our management agreements. We're going to be giving you samples and templates of all our lease option agreements, which if you were to go off and try and source yourself independently would cost thousands of pounds. So the cost of the live stream is the same at 905.
Well, I can tell you.
Yeah.
I can tell you I paid tens of thousands of pounds for those contracts myself. So, when we set them up, that's what they cost us to do. the
Okay.
original ones.
So, like I said, to get them to the point where they're legally compliant, and for first edition, second and revised edition, that will cost you, like I say, a lot of money. So, what we're offering you tonight for 995 is a great deal where you're going to get all the documentation. So, what you learn from the weekend, you can go off and implement the very next day. But more importantly, the one thing is that we'll be setting up a Facebook group which will be dedicated for people who have specifically been on this workshop, so that you get to stay in contact with both Hanif and I. And if there are any specific questions, you can come to us and we can say, well, have you thought about structuring it this way? Or if you turn around to us and say, well, I've been approached by a vendor and he wants this, and then Hanif could turn around and say, well, in actual fact, had you ever thought about restructuring it and putting the proposition to the vendor this way? So it doesn't just stop you don't stop learning just in the room at the end of that Sunday. You'll have continuous support with us. So just going back, so the price of the course is 995, and what we will allow you to do is bring a business partner for free, so you can split the cost between you. So I hope that helps. Just trying to see if there's any other question. Right, okay, so Carly's come back with regards to the retirement example that you gave. So they've put, regarding the retirement example you gave, couple buying a retirement property, they want to be sure that they get the £1 million in 1 year. However, a lease option does not guarantee this, because you have the right to buy but not the obligation. So how do you guarantee that you will buy?
Okay, you can. There are multiple options. So, for example, if you're on a stock exchange, you've got put options and you've got other kinds of options. In that particular case, the option you would not have the right to buy. You would have the obligation to buy. So normally you would never do that. But in that kind of an example, you would say you have the obligation to buy. So from a technical point of view, what you'd actually do, you probably exchange on contracts, and you'd have a completion date, which is 8th of November. If you fail to complete on that date, then you would you'd be sued for non-completion. So that would allow them to have that same confidence as if they were selling the house to anybody else with a normal completion. So yes, ordinarily we always write our contracts so we don't have that obligation to buy, but in that specific example you would make an obligation, otherwise you're not offering the vendor what they want. But obviously in between you would have sold that property on to somebody else, or your option for that property on to someone else.
Okay, great. I think we've
I'm happy to go into that in more detail with Carl separately if he really wants to understand it, or on the course we can talk through it and I'll show how we did some of those.
Okay, great. I think we've pretty much covered all the questions, because a lot of the questions were always around that. Just quickly going through some of the questions. Right. Okay. Okay. I think we've covered pretty much anything. Okay, so if there are any other questions, feel free. You've got my mobile number there. I haven't put Hanif's mobile number on because I know that he would get inundated and he's a very busy guy. So if there are any other questions, feel free to come to me directly, and then I can put them through to Hanif for you, unless I can answer them directly myself. A couple of people have asked again for the link, which again, remember, just someone's asked what are we actually getting. So for 995. You will get a 2-day workshop, which is being delivered from Hanif. And on that basis, we're allowing you to bring a business partner for free. And what you'll be getting, in actual fact, is all the templates, as well as 2 great days of learning from Hanif and I, as well as learning the negotiation strategies, as well as the role plays, as well as the deal workshops, figuring out how to do it and what to do and why you would do it that way. But more importantly, creating the win-win scenario with the vendor. If you like the thought of that, like I said, it is on the 19th and the 20th of March, which is a couple of weekends away. Have a look in your diary, see if you're free, see if you can get onto it, and it'd be great to see you on the workshop. But I think on that note, if there are any other questions, feel free to come back to us and let us know, and let's see what we can do. But Hanif, is there anything else that you'd like to say as a final statement?
No, other than thank you everyone for for listening and spending your time, and I hope what we gave you and was useful and will help you on your property journey and your chances to get to financial freedom. And good luck to all of you, whether we see you again or not. I hope your property journeys and your journey in life as a whole works out for you. So thank you again to everyone for listening.
Okay, perfect. Have a lovely evening. I just want to say thanks for Hanif. I know that he's very busy. I know he's very busy. A lot of people are saying that Hanif's very talented and very knowledgeable on it. So they're all thanking you for your time. And then let's see where we go from here, guys. If there are any other questions, you can call me for the next half an hour on my mobile, which is listed here tonight. And then let's see what we can do and go from there. Have a lovely evening. God bless. Enjoy the rest of the evening, and hopefully we'll see you all soon. Take care. Good night. Bye bye.